The Milwaukee Bucks head into Oklahoma City to take on the defending champions for the last game before the All-Star break. How do these two teams match up, and what areas do the Bucks need to try to capitalize on to try to get an unlikely win in OKC? All that and more on today's bonus episode of Locked On Bucks.
You are Locked On Bucks, your daily Milwaukee Bucks podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
What it do, y'all? Welcome to Locked On Bucks, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, the now number one sports podcast network out here, your team every day. I'm Camille Davis, an NBA analyst with the Locked On Network and co-host of the Technical File podcast. Appreciate you for tuning in and making Locked On Bucks that first listen every single day. We are free and available wherever you get your podcast, as well as on YouTube. And today's episode is brought to you by TurboTax. Tax season doesn't just have to take over your life. TurboTax is making it easier than ever to just hand things off and move on about your day. With TurboTax full service, you can have your taxes done for you by a trusted local expert from start to finish without stress or guesswork. So instead of spending hours trying to figure out forms, you can meet with the local TurboTax expert in person or connect online. And for a limited time, you can have your taxes done by a local TurboTax expert for just $150 all in. If a TurboTax expert didn't file for you last year, just file by February 28th. Take taxes off your plate and get back to your life. Visit turbotax.com/local to book your appointment today. And today, the Milwaukee Bucks head into OKC after an exciting win in Orlando last night against the Magic. There's only 3 games on the NBA slate tonight, and Bucks Thunder is the early game. The early prime game is 2 national televised games today. The Bucks are one of them on prime against OKC. I'd venture to guess that when they were booking this, they didn't expect these lineups to be hitting the floor, but we are where we are, and we're going to make do with what we got. So the Bucks are going to be coming into OKC after a 116-108 victory over Orlando that saw the new Bucks on the block make a big impact. Cam Thomas, Ousmane Dieng. So you got that going for the Bucks. On the OKC side of things, they just got done beating Phoenix last night. So both teams are entering this game on the second night of a back-to-back. In that game for the Thunder yesterday, Jalen Williams had arguably the best game of the season so far for him. Only missed 1 shot, was 11-12 from the field, 28 points. But unfortunately, he did leave that game early with a hamstring injury. The injury report for this game won't be out until midday, but I think there are some assumptions we can make about who we will not see in this game, and we'll get into that a little bit later. This is the second matchup between these two teams this summer. When they played the first time, January 22nd, the Thunder won handedly. It was a very easy win for the Thunder. And in that game for the Bucks, Giannis was playing. There was no Taurean Prince, as has been the case for most of the season. There was no Miles Turner in that game, and there was also no Kevin Porter Jr. On the Thunder side in that first matchup, they were really shorthanded. They did have SGA out there. They did have AJ Mitchell, Lou Dort, Chet, but they were without both Jalen Williams on that team. They were without Isaiah Hartenstein. They didn't have Alex Caruso. They didn't have Aaron Wiggins. They were very, very shorthanded. And takeaways from that first matchup, I was watching that game and I was just like, okay, the defending champs are showing us that there's levels to this. And the Bucks ain't really close to that level at this point. Like, the Bucks were shorthanded, but the Thunder were shorthanded even more during that game. And you could see the difference in the effort level between the two teams. You could see how the Thunder were connected on defense, scrambling and rotating, playing with pace, playing with urgency. And the Bucks were like jogging on closeouts. They weren't getting back in transition. They weren't playing with any real pace. They were consistently getting beat off the dribble. And those are areas where this Bucks team is going to have to be better on the effort front, on the execution front, if they're going to try to make this a game with the Thunder. And in that first game too, one thing that really stood out to me was just how physical the Thunder were and irritating with how they defended Giannis. Like, they had put Lou Dort on Giannis. He was that primary assignment, and he's a smaller dude who was able to be very physical because of reputation. And plus, we know little guys, when defending Giannis, they can do so without getting many whistles. But that's not going to be a factor in this game because there is going to be no Giannis in this game. I would assume here. Feels like an assumption I feel very comfortable about. But one thing from that first game that I do think will have an impact on this second game: turnovers. I thought turnovers were going to be a problem in that first game because the Bucks can be a little turnover happy with the ball at times. And meanwhile, you have the Thunder, who are one of the best teams in the league at forcing turnovers. In that first matchup against the Thunder, the Bucks had 16 turnovers that led to 20 points for the Thunder. 8 of those 16 turnovers came in the first quarter when the Thunder were able to jump out to a comfortable lead and kind of just ride that for the rest of the game. So the Bucks are going to have to be a lot sharper when it comes to how they take care of the ball. But there is an area for the Bucks where I think there's opportunity. It's not necessarily an area for the Bucks where they have thrived this season, but against this OKC team, a team that, like any other team, does have some flaws, there's the area to try to attack, I think. And I'll talk about that a little bit more right after this. It can be very difficult to find a doctor that you actually like. It feels like discovering a diamond in the rough when you do find a doctor that you actually like, someone who's in network, someone who's nearby, someone with availability. And that's what you always want. But you also want to make sure you have a doctor that actually listens to you and makes you feel comfortable and can explain things clearly. That doctor does exist, and finding them is easy with ZocDoc. ZocDoc is a free app and website that helps you find and book high quality in-network doctors so you can find someone you love without all the hassle. We're talking about booking in-network appointments with more than 150,000 providers across all 50 states, covering over 200 specialties, from primary care and dentistry to dermatology and eye care. And I can admit it, I have definitely put off doctor appointments longer than I should between work and life and everything else. It's pretty easy to delay, but ZocDoc makes it pretty easy to find those doctors, see real-time availability, book instantly, no phone calls, no waiting. So stop putting off those doctor's appointments and go to ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA to find and instantly book a doctor you love today. That is ZocDoc.com/LockedOnNBA. Thanks to ZocDoc for sponsoring this message. Also, a word from our friends over at Wayfair, because we in the new year. It's a good time right now to reset your routine and to refresh your space. And if you're spending more time at home with it being a little bit colder outside, you might as well love the way that it feels and how it looks. And that's why you should turn to Wayfair. It is a one-stop shop for getting your home back on track. From bedding and mattresses to storage solutions for every room, Wayfair makes it super easy to start the year off fresh. Wayfair has everything you need for a full home refresh all in one place. So whether you're updating your living room, organizing your space, upgrading your work from home setup, Wayfair's huge selection makes it easy to find exactly what works for you and your style and your budget. Shopping is easy, delivery is smooth, and everything arrives exactly as expected. So get organized, get refreshed, and get back on track this new year for way, way less. Head to wayfair.com right now and shop all things home. That's WAYFAR.com. Wayfair, every style, every home. Okay, so strength and weaknesses of this Thunder's Bucks matchup. I mentioned the turnovers already, and that's an area for the Bucks where, again, you have to take care of the ball. The Thunder are still a month later, well, not even a full month, but just about a month later, still one of the top teams in the league when it comes to forcing turnovers. And they are first in points scored off of turnovers. So they tend to be very advantageous when they get the ball, trying to go and score. They do a lot of things well. They have the number one net rating. They're fourth in offensive rating, second in half court offensive rating. They're fourth in efficient field goal percentage, first in forcing turnover percentage. They're seventh in free throw rate, how often they get to the free throw line. They're second in free throw percentage. They're first in defensive rating. They are second in turnover percentage defensively. So they forced the second most amount of turnovers in the league here. First points off turnovers. They're ninth in free throw rate defensively, meaning they don't foul at a super high rate. So it's like, well, where do you attack this Thunder team, right? An area where they're not super strong is on the glass. Okay. They are 29th in offensive rebounding percentage. Only team worse than the Thunder at that is the Bucks, ironically enough. They're 24th in special or in second points opportunities. And also they're a team where defensive rebounding, they're kind of middle of the pack there as well. They're 17th in offensive rebounding percentage when it comes to defensive side of things. So 17th in the league when it comes to allowing their opponents to get those offensive rebounds. So it's like there's an opportunity there for it. As I mentioned, the Bucks this season have not been a great offensive rebounding team. But if you can get performances like what we saw yesterday in Orlando from a Jericho Sims, getting those rebounds, getting extra opportunities for this team to try to make something. Kevin Porter Jr. finishing with 10 rebounds on the team. Like, it can be an opportunity for some guys to steal possessions against this Thunder team that does a pretty good job of taking care of the ball in all other facets. So I think that's an opportunity for this Bucks team. If they can put a special emphasis on cleaning the glass, it could be an opportunity for them to really make some hay in this game coming up tonight. The injury report for this game isn't out yet. Both teams are on the second night of a back-to-back, so the injury reports will be out midday. Wanted to get this episode out to y'all a little bit earlier, so at least you can process it, think about this Thunder game a few hours before actual tip-off time. But I think there's some assumptions we can make when it comes to the injury report. I think it's safe to assume that we won't see Giannis tonight. We won't see Taurean Prince or Ryan Rollins. I think with the injury that Ryan Rollins has, after hearing Doc talk about it yesterday and saying it's not likely he'll play today, either, it makes sense. Just rest that foot. You're a game before All-Star break. You don't play again until next week, Friday. So rest. I think that makes a lot of sense for the Bucks side. For OKC, I think we can assume we won't see SGA. We won't see AJ Mitchell. We won't see Thomas Sorber. I would also be surprised if we see Jalen Williams in this game. The all-star Jalen Williams, he left that Phoenix game in the third quarter early, grabbing at his hamstring. And we know hamstrings, calves, soft muscle injuries, soft tissue injuries can be a little tricky, right? You don't want to rush that back. Again, it's the last game before All-Star break. There is no need to rush back. And I'm not just saying that because I'm on the Bucks side of things and I want to make sure that an all-star last year, but regardless, an all-star, all defense, that he's not in the game. But no, I think that it just makes a lot of sense in this game upcoming if there is no Jalen Williams. So the question is, who do you focus on, right, in this game? After the performances in Orlando, there's going to be a lot of attention on Cam Thomas. What does that encore performance look like in his third game as a Milwaukee Buck? I know I can't wait to see what that looks like myself. And then Ousmane Dieng had a career night for the Bucks in Orlando, and now he makes his return to the team that drafted him, that made him the 11th pick in the 2022 NBA draft. Traded him, and now he gets to return to OKC, the only time this season, and play against his former teammates. Really looking to see what his game looks like against these defenders, some guys who know his game really, really well. A lot of spot-up shooting for Dieng in the game against Orlando last night. Want to see what else he might have in the bag. And also on the other side of things, it's like the Dieng trade kind of makes way for Jared McCain, who brings a little bit more shooting, positional size, not positional size because he's in different positions here, but made way for Jared McCain. And he's going to be somebody, I think, with the injury report looking the way that it has allegedly at this point, someone's going to get some playing time. So we're going to be able to see the new trade additions to these teams and how they look in this action. But me also mentioning the fact that I think that rebounding is going to be big in this game. Could be another night for Jericho Sims in this game. Just trying to find ways to steal other possessions. Curious to see what Miles Turner looks like in this matchup, since he did not get a chance to take the floor against the Thunder the first go round. But tonight's game tips off at 6:30 6:30 p.m. Central Time on Prime Video. As mentioned, it is the last game before the All-Star break, the last day of games before All-Star break. And the Bucks don't play again until Friday, February 20th, when they head to New Orleans to play the Pelicans in their first game out of the break. Should be a fun one. Looking forward to watching it. Of course, we will have post-game coverage on Locked On Bucks about this game. And before I get out of here, I got to make sure I plug the Everydayer Club, because I used to love watching games on Twitter when it was Twitter, live tweeting the games. And now doing Locked On Bucks, I don't really get the opportunity to live tweet through games. I'm normally taking notes and things of that sort. But I am active in the Everydayer chat every single game when the people are in there talking, just throwing some thoughts out there. So make sure you join the Everydayer Club. You'll get ad-free versions of the show, access to a members-only Discord that I just mentioned, where myself and Justin are in there interacting with all the Everydayers. And on top of that, too, it's $5 a month, y'all. It's $5 a month. It's a cup of coffee. $5 a month. Come check this out, Everydayer Club. The link will be in the description notes for you. And as said, we'll be back with the post-game episode of Locked On Bucks, and maybe a little All-Star preview bonus episode tomorrow as well. So make sure that you are keeping it locked in to Locked On Bucks.